Hello, Hauger students. Welcome back for another exciting week of talking about government power and why it matters and why you should be concerned and understand the functions of government, where it gets power from, and how it matters to you. I got a new sign up here. Oh, I can point in reverse. It says Mr. Haugers podcast. That was $7 wasted. It's important to know how government spends money and where its authority comes from. And that authority was misused by this government. Anyways, the nature of power, politics, and government. Welcome into another class period. What I want to tell you is today why you should care about government. That'll, by the end of this, is what you will understand. Why you should care about power and politics. What is the political spectrum? What does it mean to be a Democrat or a Republican in general terms, knowing that not everyone fits into each box and that some people have different beliefs in different areas of the country as well. If you have any questions as we go through this lecture and PowerPoint, put the questions in the chat box. And of course, I will jump on again afterwards and be here if you have any questions and address them all. So I'm taking notes right in this desk. It's like, what is that movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, Inception, where he's in the chair in different levels? I'm teaching in like 5 different dimensions right now. In your notes, here's what I want you to start with on a sheet of paper or in a document or on Canvas, wherever you're going to type this into. I want you to rank number 1 being the most important, number 6 being the least important. Which of these values, how much emphasis do you place on freedom, security, common good, responsibilities of citizens? That's 5. And for the 6th, I want you to write in your own value. What's something that's really important to you personally that's not in this list? I want you to write down those 6 things and then put a number 1 through a number 6, the most important to the least important. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that now and justify why you placed those values where you did. So if you selected freedom number 1, then you say freedom's the most important thing because it's what separates us from the rest of the world. It's what makes our country special. It's what makes us special as a people. If you want to totally disagree, and this is a really fun conversation to have, to comment on each other's later on if you want, but of course always respecting, being respectful, and being caring to people's thoughts because they're equal value to yours, so be respectful. But some person might put freedom as number 6 and say, no, freedom is overrated because people don't behave when there's freedom. People don't follow instructions. People don't adhere to government ordinances, and that causes us all to be harmed. Whatever you think your justification is, go ahead and put it down there in the box. When you're done, unpause the video, proceed. Politics and power. That's what we're talking about today. Power in acting. If you were an actor in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry, where I worked for several years, is making choices that force people to react. I was in radio broadcasting, and sometimes if you don't have phone lines calling in and you're not sure anyone's listening, you throw out a provocative statement, and then even when you know you're baiting someone to come in and argue, you do it because it's inflammatory and you know it'll get the phones ringing and it'll get people to care about what you're talking about and pay that much closer attention. If they are talking about you, you have influence. You might see this in celebrity news or magazines or TMZ. Some people just go out and make a fuss to get their name in. Those are the kind of people who think that any press is good publicity. So that's kind of interesting. To emphasize that, I have a clip from John Cena where he can't speak for several minutes because people love him or hate him so much. Let's see if we can get that on audio for you to hear over my speakers.
Every woman and every child to say, "Let's go Cena." And I want every guy sucks. Right?
That's somebody who is demonstrating power. That's someone who's demonstrating influence. And as a result, that's someone who's had a tremendous influence in pop culture, in movies, in film, in his industry, in selling millions of dollars in tickets and merchandise, and becoming a worldwide icon. Like him or not, you know who John Cena is because he forces people to make choices about him. That gives him power. That gives him influence. But in the term of government and in the study of this class, what do we mean when we say power? It's the ability to control the thoughts and behavior of others. It's one of our key definitions. And it is emphasized and exemplified in every day that you live. Your parents, when you were younger and still now have power over you, if they can make you think something, they are controlling your behavior and likely the way you're going to also think about something, whether you accept that or you revolt from it. If you're taught that broccoli is delicious, you probably grow up liking broccoli. If you got taught broccoli is horrible and something you need to be tricked into eating because you need to be given ice cream after because it's so awful that it's a treat just to motivate you to do something, then you're going to grow up with a negative feeling towards that. If your parents think that recycling is a good thing, you probably grow up thinking that too. And if they think it's a waste of time, you probably adopted that behavior. That power controls and influences your thoughts and your behaviors. Government can be the same way. If you were told that something is very serious, a concern about security or national security, then you might allow that to change the way you think or vote or process your life. If you're told that an organic lifestyle is important or that ocean mammals should be protected and shouldn't be doing tricks at SeaWorld, or if you're taught the opposite and that we have dominion over the animals in the earth, and all of these things affect the way that you see the world and the way that you interact with it.
Backstab. He's the man whose name you'd love to touch, but
you mustn't touch. Fun stuff. I love clips. Power can come from 5 different sources, and I would like you to have these down in your notes. They will very likely appear on a test or a quiz. The 5 sources of power. The first one is expertise. If you have specific skills or are an expert, you have power. In the world of music, Tom Morello is a guitar player for Rage Against the Machine. You might not know his name, but he has tremendous influence for the way that he plays. Now, if you grew up listening to, like I did, like a lot of Santana, that could be another example. He has a lot of power in the Latin American music community. Bobby McFerrin is the songwriter of Don't Worry, Be Happy. Very different kind of music. But he proved his authority in this speech, where he proved that all of us in our brain know the pentatonic scale. And the audience responds to the way he moves. That is a really rad video to watch. It just shows you he understands the language of music and how we inertly in our brains can fill in notes and know harmonies without being taught anything. That's cool. That's a show off of expertise as the first source of power. The second is coercion, the force. So to use myself as an example, just so you can get to know me as your teacher a little better, since we're not face-to-face at the moment, I could tell you that I'm an expert at guitar. I have a lot of guitars. I could show you my wall of some of my favorite guitars, right? I know something about guitars. I'm at least an intermediate player, and I've written a lot of songs. You could question that authority and say, hey, Mr. Hauger, what's the biggest show you played? And I'd have to say 5,000 people. Opened at Panic at the Disco a couple times. Open for some smaller bands as well. But no, I haven't been on the nationwide global international tour. I've played in London, I've played in Paris, but no, I haven't sold millions of albums. It's just true. You could question that. Now, in coercion, I could say, you better recognize me as your musical hero and icon and subscribe to me on YouTube and Spotify, and you better go buy my album if you want an A. I'm not doing that. It's not a thing I'm offering. But that would be me using force to penalize you if you don't acknowledge my authority. Your boss might coerce you at some point. They're not supposed to. There's laws in place to prevent it from happening. But I worked a lot of holidays, even though I didn't want to, because I was paying my dues. I was working my way up the ladder. I was trying to gain power for myself and needing to demonstrate I was a team player. Look, that's coercion, though. That someone's got to work the holidays. And did I feel forced at some time? Yeah. Yeah, if I wanted to remain in good standing with the staff at AM 830, yeah, it happens at some point. Okay, so Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, if you've ever watched, is always shown using coercive force.
Good morning, sir. Care for some coffee?
No, the promise of a new day is more than enough exhilaration for me. Smithers, coffee. We need some excitement around here.
Chinese checkers or domestic, sir?
No, something fun. Something the men will enjoy, like a safety drill. But what kind? Meltdown alert, mad dog drill, blimp attack. I think a good old-fashioned fire drill today.
All right, popcorn's ready.
Hey, that's the fire alarm.
We gotta get out of here.
Wait for me! Come on, come on, come on!
Get out of my way.
It doesn't always get the best out of people.
Is it supposed to take this long? What's a good time for a mass evacuation of the entire plant?
45 seconds.
And what's our time so far?
I don't know, sir. This stopwatch only goes up to 15 minutes.
Damnation! What kind of slow coaches do I have working for me? Here comes one of our fellows now.
I think I won, Mr. Burns.
Yes, you won, all right. You won more than you bargained for. Woohoo! What a disgraceful display.
Yeah, so it doesn't always get the best out of people. Threatening people, firing people when they don't perform the way you want. It might motivate some, but in the long run is shown to not always have the best effects. But coercion, force is the second way that you can enforce power. Number 3, rewards. So maybe I'm the teacher who wants to reward you for doing things good, like extra credit for finding extra answers or examples, or going to do research above and beyond and turning in something on Canvas, and I'll probably throw you an extra credit point for your grade. It's the ability to give something of value, like a monetary reward or some kind of a benefit or a bonus, or praising you. And it's leading by like a carrot instead of a stick, if you've ever heard that metaphor, where I'm going to dangle a carrot. If you achieve this, you get this incentive, versus a stick where it's like, you do this, or I'm going to... Right, you understand what a stick does. Mr. Hauger said... No, it's good. So number 3 is the reward system. Here's an example of that. Oh man, I really got to pay for YouTube Red at some point.
Bring an extra 15% credit.
So we'll meet that. A reward would be if we got YouTube Red to use in videos during distance learning, right? That could be a reward system, a use of power in that methodology.
Hold on. You have a choice. You can have the boat or the mystery box.
What, are you crazy? We'll take the boat.
No, not so fast, Lois. A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It can even be a boat! You know how much we've wanted one of those?
And let's just...
We'll take the box.
We'll take the box. You gave up a boat for free tickets to a crappy comedy club.
Come on, Lois. You're acting like this is the first time I've ever done something stupid. You remember the time I was supposed to get that boat? A boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It can even be a boat! You know how much we've wanted one of those?
And let's just...
We'll take the box.
And sometimes the reward system
on.
isn't always the best system, because sometimes we make choices only for the reward and we don't really think about the long-term complexities of how we're going to work and earn things. Number 4 is persuasion. That's the ability to persuade or influence others. So I used to really try at Titan Radio in college to get us free stuff to give away on the radio. We didn't have that many listeners, only maybe 10 people at a time of any given hour were actually listening to the shows. And most of the time, if you were a DJ for a half hour or an hour, your friends were the only one listening. And so trying to get people to give us free stuff wasn't really that convincing, because why would they give away us dollar value monetary prize when there's not that many people to give it away to. But I would persuade that the prestige of being on a college station, that we were in a big market, that we were in Orange County, that we had 36,000 people who could be listening on campus alone, got us a lot of concert tickets and a lot of free stuff. That's using persuasion and to get power from persuasion. Dwight in The Office does this well.
And you will understand that it is a privilege to fight.
He gives a speech from Benito Mussolini here.
We are warriors! Salesmen of northeastern Pennsylvania, I ask you, once more rise and be worthy of this historical hour.
It's pretty funny. And then the fifth source of power to write down is formal authority. Didn't mean to go yet. Formal authority. That's when you have organizational power. You are on a cabinet or a decision-making team or a board, or you are actually in a position where you are dispensing information and are the go-to person for that. Formal authority might come at our school from an AP or from a principal, and maybe from a teacher, right? But if I needed a greater authority, I would move up the organizational chart, like Dwight does.
Every single person in the office.
I never said you could.
All you have to do is say it. Just say it.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Say it. Just do it. Don't think. Say it. Do it. 5, 4, 3, 2. Do it. Give me control.
Michael?
I promise to give authority back to you when this crisis is over. Do it, Michael.
Do it. Hey. This office needs a strong man. Say it.
No.
So.
And that is a lot of the series, is Dwight trying to gain more formal authority, and he never can within the organization. So let's recap those 5 again, shall we? First, you had expertise, because you are knowledge, skilled, you're educated, you are a professional. Tony Hawk would be an expert in skateboarding. Metallica would be an expert in metal. Toby Keith might be an expert in country music. Authority, if you've got ruling power, then that could be authority. Rewards, where you try to give people incentives for doing things that you want. Persuasion, where you can talk people into doing things you want, or be a people person. Or coercion, when you do it by force. So check that out. Rank these in terms of importance for a president. If you were a president of the United States, which of those 5 sources would be most important? Write that down for me. That's A. B, if you were the mayor of Brentwood, California, which one of those 5 would be the most important thing you want to have in your skill set? Which one of the 5 sources of power? C, California's governor. If you were the governor of California, which one would be most important? Got it? All right, awesome. Okay, so do that in your notes. Pause and unpause when you're finished. And let's go on to legitimacy. That's the willingness of those being led to follow the leader without making a judgment. Right now in American society, in Portland, in Seattle, in Austin, it's late July, early August 2020. There are people who are refusing to follow leadership. There are people who are refusing to stop protesting. There are people who are challenging legitimacy of government. I'm not advocating or shooting down those things. I'm telling you that's happening, right? If you don't give consent to be led, you challenge legitimacy. In China, rulers ruled through the mandate of heaven. This is one of the standards that we learned this year in government, that you probably learned this in 7th grade social studies as well. This is a callback. That when ancient Chinese rulers said, I'm divine, I rule from an authority from heaven above, and you must follow me because I am your divine leader represented here on earth. That is where legitimacy came from, and very few people challenged that until they had a bad harvest, or they were invaded, or they got sick, and then everyone's like, hey, how come that dude didn't protect us from all these horrible things? In Europe, there was the divine right of kings that said, hey, dude, we're royal, we're rich, you're poor, you listen to us, we have this castle, we have power, we have military, we have a feudal system, you are small, we are large, follow social order. In the US, though, legitimacy comes from the will, the votes of the people, the support of the people, and the willingness to be led. That's why we always hear about people's poll numbers or their approval ratings, even though they're sometimes unofficial and sometimes far off and sometimes a small survey, and it makes us think one thing and then reality happens a different way. But it gives us an idea of how supported the government is at any particular time. When I was in high school, the governor of California got recalled because Gray Davis became so unpopular with the voters. They had a special election and voted him out of office. Legitimate democracies pass the torch from president to president, though sometimes it can be contentious. So I put a picture of The Rock and John Cena because they handed the kind of the leadership of their company. Up in the top left corner here, you got LeBron, Kobe, and Michael Jordan. You know, the greats tend to hand down reins to the next, and we lost Kobe Bryant this year, and that makes me very sad. I had a couple good interactions with him when I worked for the Angels in Southern California. And when we have succession of presidents, we hand the office over from person to person and president to president. So in exchange for this willingness to be led, for voting, for supporting, for recognizing the power of government, what is the government supposed to do in return? Their responsibility is to maintain public order, protect life and property, and provide public goods. Those are the three things from our text that the government is required to do for you. Write them down. Maintain public order, protect life, protect property, and provide public goods. One of the goods you're receiving right now, public education. I went to private school. I went to private school because the public education system in my hometown was insufficient. It was not good. So I feel like that's pretty important to understand. We'll move a little quicker as we go through. Feel free to pause as needed. So I think we recapped everything that I wanted to discuss today. Appreciate you focusing. The government achieves these responsibilities, and how can they do that? They do that through raising revenue and taxes, so you can keep that short, revenue. They collect taxes to provide and pay for public goods. Pause if you need to. So even though we don't like paying taxes, and early Americans and colonial subjects didn't like paying taxes, it's something that funds all of our public projects in our streets. And the importance of politics is that when people work to influence the decisions made by groups, oftentimes it involves collective action, groups working together, and it can be competitive. That's why politics gets so heated and so competitive at times. The system is important for giving government legitimacy, achieving responsibilities of government, and getting things done. On the political spectrum, we have generally the left and the right, collectivism and individualism. On the left, which are typically Democrats, and again, not everything's going to come... Not every one person is a definition or the page textbook definition of a liberal or a Democrat or a conservative or a Republican, right? People are all along this. It's a spectrum. It moves from left to right. Generally, liberals believe in government action to achieve equality. They think it's the government's duty to alleviate social ills and problems, to protect civil liberties and individual rights, believe that the government should guarantee that no one's in need, that there should be no one in poverty, that liberal policies generally emphasize the need for government to solve problems. The conservatives generally believe in personal responsibility, limited government, free markets without interventions, individual freedoms to make choices, traditional American values, strong national defense. It doesn't mean that people over here don't want some of those same things as well. Again, these are generals from our book. They believe the role of government should be to provide the freedom necessary to pursue your own goals. Conservative policies generally emphasize empowerment of the individual to solve problems. And there are all sorts of roles and degrees and movements, and you have all sorts of independents. You have independents who are more democratic leaning, independents who are more conservative leaning, like libertarians perhaps, or you could have real ultimate kinds of progressives or environmentalists that might not fall into different categories, or who'd be more extreme or more left or more right. There are all sorts of spectrums and degrees. Cool? Very nice. So let's go to our reflection next assignment. Reflect on the following questions by writing a one-paragraph response in which you address these two questions. Look back at your original ranking that we started with. Do you still support your original 1 through 6 rankings of power? Why or why not? Okay. And secondly, what are the challenges that modern governments are facing? I want a paragraph along with the rest of your notes posted on Canvas. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, I'll be coming back now to address those for you, and I'll talk to you in just a moment. So thank you so much for your full attention and guidance, and I'll be right with you.